Hi, this is Carrie from Scrapyard Chicks, and I just want to show you what our fun project is for today. It is a magnet board, and it is a freestanding magnet board, which I really love because you can put it on your kitchen cupboard or you can use it for a photo display. I chose to do this one in this fun Cosmo Cricut chick paper, and then I made some extra little magnets up here out of some buttons, and then I also punched out some pieces of paper and made them onto tags. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to show you how you take a piece of sheet metal, and we're actually going to bend it into this L shape and cover it using Mod Podge. So it's just a really fun, fast, and easy project. If you're looking for some great gift ideas, this time of the year it's always nice to have a couple things stored up to give out as gifts. So if you're a subscriber, stay tuned and we'll go through the directions of how to put this together. Thanks! Okay, so we are going to start on the magnet board part. Now, if what I've done here is this is a piece of metal ducting. I bought it at Home Depot. You go in, you actually go back to the metal duct area. You can ask somebody for help if you're not sure, and it comes in big sheets. And then what I do is I have a pair of tin snips and I cut it down into smaller pieces. If you're not up for something like that, you can also probably use like industrial scissors or something along those lines. You can also do this project on a cookie sheet. You could do it on either the front or the back. The difference is this is going to be freestanding, and your cookie sheet, of course, wouldn't be freestanding, but it's definitely an option if you're just not up to doing some metal work. So what this is this is a piece that is, it's 11 inches wide by 12, 13, 14, 15 inches long. And so what we're going to do is our board's going to end up being 11 by 11 square. The reason we want to do that is because we want to have some overlap so we can wrap this paper around there. You could definitely make this smaller if you wanted to, or you could make it larger if you wanted to piece your paper, but because paper is only 12 inches wide, that's how we did it that way. So what you want to do is you want to find a table that has a pretty square edge, and you want about 4 inches of this board to be hanging off that edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scoot it down here to the end of my counter. You may or may not be able to see this on the screen. I just want to make sure that I have 11 inches. So you want to make sure that that is nice and straight, because that's going to make a difference in how your board's going to be. Then what I do is I put one hand right here on my board and I put my other hand here, and you're just going to bend it along that nice edge. You want to make sure you're not doing it on like a counter that has a rolled edge. You want it to be more of see how that came out like that? You want it to be more of a straight edge. And this metal is very, very resilient. So you can actually bend it and then bend it back to get the right kind of angle that you want to stand up on your counter like this. So you want to kind of once you get it bent, you can kind of fiddle around with it a little bit to make sure that you get the right angle so that it will stand up. So there we have it. You want to be careful. These edges are super sharp. And you know what? Don't even try and round these with your corner rounder, because it won't work and you'll end up making a mess and you'll be very disappointed. So once I have my board like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Mod Podge. Here I'm going to put out my work mat so I don't get it all over everything. So I've got my my board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Mod Podge my paper onto my board, and then I'm going to wrap it around the back side. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to cut all this paper has this cute little strip on there, but you always have to cut that off. And I want this to be the right side of my paper. And what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with about a 1-inch overlap on the top and about a 1/2 inch overlap on the sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a nice coating of Mod Podge all over my metal board. And trust me, this does really stick. If I can get the Mod Podge open. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Who would have thought the hardest part of this project was getting the lid off the Mod Podge? But I've got that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put a coating all over the front side of my metal board. Be really careful when you do the edges that you don't cut your hand, because like I said, it's really sharp. You know, there's a possibility that if you ask at Home Depot that they would cut it for you. I've never been successful at that, but I have heard other people that say that they've been able to to do that. So, but you know, this is not a super heavyweight metal, so you might be able to cut it with just a really good pair of heavy-duty scissors if you wanted to. So you want a pretty good coating of Mod Podge, and I'm going to tell you the secret to not getting Mod Podge to bubble. The thicker your paper, the less likelihood you're going to have bubbling. I know a lot of people have had problems with that when we've had classes and stuff, and when you use thin paper, it just gives you more of a problem. So I've got a nice coating all around there like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I want to make sure I've got my chicks going the right way. I'm going to put my paper down like this. Then I'm going to put my board right on top, and I'm going to line up my bottom edge, because we're going to actually cover that with some cardstock. We're going to, and then I'm just going to press my board down into that really good like that. And then if I wanted to, I could use a brayer to really brayer down. Oops, I got some Mod Podge on the front there. Brayer down my edges, but I don't think I really need to. I've got a pretty good coating there. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently fold those paper edges in. And then I'm going to Mod Podge those down as well. And what you might want to do at this step is you might want to use maybe a clothespin or something like that to really hold that down while you can, which I think I'm going to use my bone folder to get a nice crisp edge there. While it's drying, because you want to let this probably sit and dry for quite a while before you're going to be ready to really do much with it. So I'm going to do my sides first, and then I'm going to fold my top down. And then we're going to cover this back. We're going to cover the top and the bottom of the L with some cardstock. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Mod Podge my edges down. Just kind of, you can kind of get a fairly liberal application of this. You don't want it to be gushing out everywhere, but you don't want to go too easy on this. And I suppose you could use super tape for this if you wanted to. I've only ever done this project using Mod Podge, but you can experiment around, see if there's something else that works for you. That's the nice thing about crafts is, what some people like, other people don't. So it's fun to kind of experiment a little bit. So we're just going to go ahead and fold those edges down. And this can be a little bit messy, but that's okay. Messy's not always bad. Then I'm going to put a little bit more my fold over parts right here. Then I'm just going to fold that top edge down. So this would be a really cute recipe holder in your kitchen. It would also be a really cute thing for a teacher, for end of school. I'm actually making this for Darcy, but don't tell her. I'm going to give it to her later tonight, so it's a secret. Because we're always looking for cute chick stuff, and so I thought this would be really cute. And actually, we might use it to put some display stuff on this weekend. So I'm just going to go ahead really kind of pushing down those edges really, really well. Then you can see kind of what my front looks like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut some cardstock. I'll be back in a minute with my cardstock pieces to go on my back and then the bottom part of my L. Okay, so what I've got is I've got my, the front of my magnet board is covered, and I wrapped those edges around the back. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cover this bottom of this L shape right here. So what I want is I need a piece of cardstock that is 12 by 4.5, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it at the bottom of the L like this. Just like we did on the front, I'm going to put my Mod Podge on the back, and then I'm just going to wrap it around. So for right now, I'm going to Mod Podge this part of my L. I'm just going to, the bottom side. And it's really important when you're working with something that has sharp edges like this that you really make sure that all those edges are wrapped with something. You could, if you had nice machined edges, you could just cut it off even, but it looks really nice for this too to have the edges all wrapped. So I'm going to go ahead and put my Mod Podge all over the bottom of my L like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, just like we did before, I'm going to set it down. The nice thing about Mod Podge, you can shift it around as you need to. I'm going to shift that around like that. And then I'm just going to make sure it's pressed in there really well, and I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing. I'm going to fold my edges up, just like I did on the front, and I'm just going to wrap that paper around that bottom support. Then I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge. And it's okay if you get it out away from just that little 1/2 inch overlap, because we're going to put a whole piece of cardstock down next to cover up the back side of the metal, so that the project will be completely finished. So we're going to go ahead and put that all over like that first. We'll wrap those sides over. This is a good one to keep a wet paper towel handy for your fingers, because otherwise I have a tendency to get Mod Podge on everything. So it's definitely a good one to have baby wipe or some paper towels or something handy, so you don't have that as big of an issue with that. Then we're going to go ahead and wrap that bottom section up just like this. Just kind of keep pressing that in really good with your fingers. As it dries, it really sort of makes a nice bond, but like I said, you could use clothespins or some kind of clips or something like that to really hold it down. You could brayer this down. Most of this is not going to show. It's just to protect those edges. Okay, so then once we get that all down, then what we're going to do is we're going to cover the back side of this. So we can see a couple spots that may be lifting up. So when we do this, we want to make sure that we get maybe scrunch a little bit of adhesive underneath there. Make sure that we've got a good bond going there. So for the back, we want a piece that is 10 3/4 by 11. So 10 3/4 is going to be our width, and 11 is our height, and we're gonna Mod Podge that right onto the back. And then for the bottom here, we want a piece that's 4 1/2. I'm sorry, 10 3/4 by 4. And mine actually looks like it's a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim that down a little bit. Probably I didn't get mine bent exactly right. And you know, that's always a good lesson too, is to trial fit everything, because I noticed that the front of mine is just a slightly wider than 11 inches. So when I go to put my embellishment pieces on the front, I want to make sure that I've covered the whole front. So then I'm just going to go ahead and do that same thing. I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge all over this back side, and I'm going to go ahead and stick that my cardstock down and cover up the back side of this metal and all of my paper seams with these pieces. So I've got this 10 3/4 by 4, and that's going to go right there on the top side of that L. Just going to press that in. Like I said, I could brayer that down if I wanted to. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here on the top. But I'm not going to show that to you on camera. I'm going to flip this around really quick because I want to do a couple of fun little pieces on the bottom here. So what I've done is, this is a border piece that comes with this paper collection. I just cut a piece of contrasting paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up those edges, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that down across the bottom like this, just to kind of give it a really fun look. It almost kind of looks like a scrapbook page. And then I'm going to do some magnets. And one of the fun things that you can do for magnets is you can use tags, like these metal rim kind of tags, and you can punch out either pieces of paper or little pictures, and you could do some really fun magnets to go on this board. So I'm going to use some of the contrasting paper, and I'm just going to make a couple of cute little magnets, and then I'll be back to show you what my project looks like when it is all finished. Okay, I just want to show you what our finished project looks like. So here's our magnet board. We covered the back. I did it with blue cardstock. The front I used my pattern paper, and then I did 2 different strips of some other patterns here. And then I did 2 little magnets here out of my tags. And then I did 2 more magnets out of buttons. And all I did with that is I just punched out some paper and then just glued a button magnet onto the back. And so that is our fun project. It's our makeup one from last week, and I hope you enjoy that and you make lots of fun magnet boards. Thanks.